Hi, my name's Dr. Lissa Carter and I'm a lecturer in food technology at the Australian Catholic University. This short presentation is about using creative thinking for the Flavour Forecast Recipe Challenge. We're going to be thinking about how we can develop creative thinking skills and give you some strategies and techniques that you can apply to designing an original creative recipe for the Flavour Forecast Challenge. So critical and creative thinking always go hand in hand, and when we undertake design activities and projects, we're developing skills in both simultaneously. So why would we want to develop critical and creative thinking skills? Well, when we're thinking critically and creative, we're developing the skills, behaviours and attitudes such as reason and logic. We're being resourceful, inquisitive, imaginative, innovative and persistent. And we're learning to generate new ideas, evaluate existing knowledge, clarify concepts, seek new possibilities, consider alternatives we might not have before, and solve problems. And these are all skills and attitudes that we want to develop in ourselves as lifelong learners and in our students if we're a teacher. So it's helpful to think about using backwards design when designing an original creative dish for the Flavour Forecast Challenge. So keep the different aspects of the brief front of mind. So we want to keep the trend front of mind. So look at the description of the trend that's been provided by McCormick both on their website and on the HEIA website. Also, keep the criteria about that particular trend. So there are 3 trends that are identified every year. So you might be designing a recipe for one of those trends or for all of those trends. So for each of the trend, it's important to look at the criteria and keep them in mind. So what are the set ingredients that you need to use and what are the set techniques, for example? There are also other criteria that have to be kept in mind, such as the dish that you create has to be nutritious and meet the recommendations of the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating. So it's important when you're designing your dish to consider the use of discretionary ingredients and the amounts of these types of foods included in the dish. The other requirements, such as the cost of the recipe, how long it takes to prepare and cook the recipe, and the sensory appeal of the designed dishes also need to be taken into consideration. So keep all of these aspects in at the forefront of your mind when you're designing. As a participant in the recipe challenge, we're going to be looking for inspiration for creating an original creative dish. So inspiration can come from lots of different places. And when designing a recipe for the challenge, we're going to be drawing upon and reflecting on our personal experiences. So that can come from experiences around food and eating with our family, with our friends, when we're traveling to new suburbs, cities, states, other countries, when we're eating out at new restaurants, for example, or even when we're just browsing what's new in terms of new food products available at the supermarket. So there's a wealth of inspiration just through living and eating our way through all the delicious foods that are available. We're also going to want to be conducting additional research to support our design of our recipes. So one of the great resources that is available to us are those provided by McCormick. So McCormick provides resources about the trends that they've put forward for the year, about ingredients that support that trend and could be helpful to incorporate, about new cooking techniques that are used in cultures where these new ingredients are used, for example. They provide sample recipes that we can create to experience flavors of the new trend ingredients, for example. And in these recipes and on their website, they've provided lots of beautiful imagery that give us inspiration around food styling and photography. We'll also maybe look towards cookbooks for inspiration. But as we know, a lot of the time when we're looking for new ideas, we go to the internet. So the internet is a great place to start to get some inspiration about designing a recipe for the Flavour Forecast Trend Challenge. The SBS Food website is a great site to access for information on cultural foods and new ingredients and experiences. But I think one of the main thing I want to point out when we're looking at the internet, that it's important to use sources that we find on the internet as a starting point and to build upon them to make sure that our entry into the Flavour Forecast is creative and original. So we want to keep in mind that those people who are involved in judging and assessing entries into the challenge are experts in the field of food and nutrition. It's their job to keep up to date on food culture and trends. So while existing recipes are great for inspiration, it's important to use creative thinking skills to design an original dish that's appealing, healthy, and meets the trend and competition requirements. So what are some creative thinking techniques we can use? Let's take a look. When we're using critical and creative thinking to design an original creative recipe, we're going to be generating new ideas and applying new information. We're going to be trying different ways of doing things and considering alternatives that we might not have previously. We might be making new links between practical work that we're doing and more theoretical research so that we can generate new positive outcomes. We're going to be looking for alternative pathways to solving the problems to meet the design brief. And we might be combining different parts of our practical and theoretical research to form something original. One creative thinking technique that you can use to design your original creative recipe is the scamper technique. So in the scamper technique, we take attributes or components of a recipe or a dish, and we think about how we can adapt, modify, combine, put to another use, substitute, reverse, and eliminate. So when we're thinking about those different parts of the scamper technique, we can be applying them to the amounts and types of ingredients that we're using. And that will alter the flavors, the textures, the aroma, the appearance, the nutrition composition of the meal, for example. We can also apply it to techniques and cookery methods that we're using. We might change the technique. We might alter the steps. We might change the timing, for example. We might use them in new and unexpected ways. And we can apply these different parts of scamper to other aspects of the recipe as well. For some more ideas on how to use scamper thinking techniques in recipe design, you can access the link here. And this will take you to an example of using scamper to design a breakfast muffin. So hopefully this example will give you some tips and ideas on how to use scamper in your design processes. So there are some other tools that you can use to help with creative thinking. So one of the very important parts of thinking creatively is coming up with ideas. And in my teaching, I've found using card games like Idea Market to be really helpful in helping students practice thinking creatively and thinking outside the box. So the game that I have presented here in this slide is developed by Francesca Zompolo, who is an expert in the field of food design. So she has designed this game that you can use in classes or even just on your own to help you flex that creative thinking muscle in terms of coming up with new ideas around food and food products. So I hope that you check this other idea out, and you might find it useful to incorporate using card games around idea generation and creative thinking in your toolkit for creative design activities. So thanks for listening. I hope this short presentation has given you some ideas on tools and techniques that you can use to develop critical and creative thinking, and hopefully have lots of fun along the way. Good luck.